I was talking to my daughter yesterday about the COVID-19, this branch of the coronavirus. I was talking to her about having to stay inside, why, how this all could have been averted, how it could have all been dealt with primarily by now, where we'd be on the upswing of, this pandemic. I mean, on a severe upswing, people just don't want to learn their lessons. They listen and appeal to authority more so than any better judgment, which means they throw their better judgment out the window in hopes that whoever is talking to them from the Oval Office or the Senate floor or their home with hundreds of thousands of followers, that's who they're going to believe, that's who they're going to trust. And right before I was able to get that out, she talked about how stupid that was. And I really could not agree, because I thought that's how we're programmed. And I had to explain to her about being programmed and how some people are just self delusional anyway. And these are words that I explained to her. She's only 10. And I had to explain to her how at one point I ran the experiment of telling her that our neighbors were bad because they drive on the left side of the street. And they always drive backwards. And I told her that. She was really upset and was like, yeah, our neighbors are real dumb. They always do that. So then I took her outside. This was like maybe a year ago. And I took her outside and she was like, see what they're going to do? And when they backed out of the driveway and she was like, see, that's just so dumb. And they pulled out, drove up the street properly. She just looked at me and was like, I thought they always did the dumb stuff. I said, now why did you think that? And then she answered, I don't know. And I looked at her and I said, honey, you thought that dumb mess because I told you to think that dumb mess. And she just looked at me and almost this little face of, but why would you do that? I could almost see this weird thing of, you know what, I'll have to turn these off. I could almost see this weird thing of, I trust you, and how could you not tell me the absolute truth like you always do? I could see it. And then she started to ask, why would you? And I said, to teach you something. I said, this lie I made was no more than 4 minutes ago, roughly thereof. But you believed it 100%. I said, you're going to come across people that will think nasty things about you, and they haven't seen it, they haven't heard it from you, but someone told them. And I said, when you have truth on your side, you will always have an outstanding argument. And I said, the whole point of this was to teach you. Look for truth. Don't just believe what someone says. You got to look for it. I explained that to her. I said, I will get things wrong, and it's up to you to research whatever I say. What anyone says. Doesn't matter if it's your teacher, your mom, me, your grandparents. It don't matter if it's your best friend or your worst enemy. If they say something, research it. You just can't blindly trust something or anything. And I understand why she does. And I told her that's my job as a parent. I'm the one that's supposed to help guide you, teach you, and things like that. And I have to give you the absolute truth. Doesn't matter if I like that truth or not. Don't matter if it goes against my preconceived notions. Well, my preconceived beliefs. Truth is truth. That's what matters. That's all that matters. Because if you got the truth, you know exactly what to do to combat whatever situation is there. And I told her I was going to teach her this lesson often. No matter what I'm gonna teach it to her often, and that leads us to where we are with these open borders. So I want to preface that because for the longest, that's what our government has done. We appeal to them as the authority. We appeal to the president, our senators. You know, as I said, these people that have these hundreds of thousands of, if what not, millions of viewers. They say it, we believe it. Don't think it, don't question it, don't do nothing, just believe it. This is why I listen to progressive social media, because they're the ones that'll say, fact check us. It's like I told you. I said, hey, if I say something, fact check me. If I'm wrong, throw it down there in the comments, and most likely I might credit on the next video. See, I thought the leaves was doing that flickering thing. It's the damn background. I have to work on that today then. I'm tired of that flickering. And because of that, it's really good. It's really good to make sure you do your due diligence and research. Someone says something to you and you just outright believe it without questioning it. You're like, that's how they are. All the time. That's what I see. And you know damn well you don't see it. There's a lot of stuff. And it's worse when you double down on your stupid. It really is. It really is. Case in point, I was watching Cult of Dust. I was Progressive Talk Live on. I watched the Twitch version, and this woman, black woman in the seat on the airplane, white girl next to her. I guess some black guys trying to help this girl, but she calls him the N-word. So the black woman's trying to tell her, what is wrong with you? This man's trying to help you. He's trying to do right by you, but you're going to call him the N-word. You know? Now, she didn't say N-word. She was saying it. And this white girl didn't care. She was beholding and entitled to her racism. So entitled, so ingrained, she had no idea she did anything wrong. Well, y'all are. You just are what you are. That's what you are. And this black woman, she called the black woman the same thing when the black woman was trying to get some sense into her. The black woman's like, I'm not taking that. So she went to whooping her ass. Rightfully so. She didn't kick her ass enough. Not nearly enough. But this girl just pretty much blamed the black woman for that ass whooping, not thinking that I said some painful racist stuff. You know, didn't care. She was entitled. And the government, the media, with these, we don't like the people south of us. We don't like people from America and Mexico. No. You know, or Mexico, America. No, we don't like them. We don't like them at all. They come up here and steal our jobs, right? We've been hearing that for decades. They come up here and steal our jobs while they just come up here and make their own jobs. Take the jobs of us that we don't want to do because we feel it's beneath us. It's beneath us. But when someone takes that job offer, then they're stealing jobs. See, we here in this country, and I say we just to be inclusive, but we here in the United States, we got a habit of we don't want it. We wish it gone, but nobody else can have it. That's not very brilliant at all. It's not. You don't, one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's what I heard growing up. And the media, government has pretty much spammed our minds with, we don't need open borders. We open the borders, you let them in, they ruin our society. That's what they've been propagating all this time, prepping you, hardwiring you, teaching you, infecting you, and without looking for any evidence, without looking for any proof, without trying to understand it, you just go on with it. So, as you might see on the screen, it says, no open borders was only propaganda. So you might be asking, how's that propaganda? Because it's fake. It's not true. You open the borders, you know what they come here for? You know, people south of the border, they come here to escape tyranny. And it's not their government. No. That's our government that's tyrannical. And the Stockholm Syndrome of its followers. The representatives are the leaders. Something's wrong with that. But no, their government's trying to save them. Their government got screwed over by our government. And those people are escaping where they are because they want to live. Not a better life. They just don't want to die. But you know what? They're not coming up here that much anymore. No one's reported this. It's dropped off. It's dropped off a lot. Because you don't have to worry about open borders. See, open borders, that means they can just come on over, get the asylum, join their kind, for those of you that can't understand decency, and start their own restaurants, food trucks, or just living with someone, get some kind of crappy job that no good American would want, and just send that money back to their family and help them out. And maybe that family can come up here because they just want to live. Not a better life, they just don't want to die. And that brings me to the final point of this. These no open border policies that a lot of the right and the center right of the Democrats, because if you're a Democrat, you're right. You are on that spectrum. You are on that Republican side, whether you want to know it or not. No matter about your belief, truth is truth. No matter if you like it, whether you don't like it, truth is truth. And you've all been fighting that terrible battle, and you've lost 40 years ago. Had no idea about it. But where were those no open borders when this pandemic broke out? Where were they? See, I did a lot of propping up and prepping to let you know that there's a reason for why we believe what we believe, why we trust what we trust. I just can't figure out why nobody does the research. Why nobody, that's a level of hate that I can't understand. I just can't understand. I was raised to really dislike white people. I was raised to think if they black, then they all right. That's just it, because they on your side. Oh no, I learned the hard way. It don't matter your race, creed, color, religion, political spectrum. An asshole is an asshole. And they will hurt you just because they can. Literally because they can, and they just for some reason gotta. I learned that. So I hold no sides. Forward thinking, being honest and accountable for yourself, your words, your actions. Being able to be strong enough to disavow any said actions or words, and not weak enough to double down on the stupid decision. These borders should have been closed. It should have been closed as soon as the government found out, but they did not close the borders. They didn't. I would have been like, if you're on that flight and you're here, turn it around. You better turn it around, because you're not coming here. We're going to keep this country safe. We're going to keep it COVID-19 free. You will not be bringing any form of that coronavirus here. And if you will not turn that plane around, we will blow it out the sky. That's the last resort. First, we'll try mid-air refueling. We'll try. Makes sense. Seems like the right thing to do, although airliners are not equipped for that. But I'm sure there are ways to figure it out somehow. You got some remarkable people that'll do some remarkable things. And so I trust there's a way that no matter what country it is, they'll find a way to get it done. because you don't want someone to die. You want to do everything you can to make sure that they live and the rescuers live. But if you can't get the refueling in midair, you better find somewhere else to land. And if you do land, don't let anyone off. Refuel, get back going. Anyone come off that plane, that's a dead being right there. I would not, I could not risk it. I could not risk 30 to 78 people infecting 100,000, let alone 100 million people for their selfishness. The needs of the many should always outweigh the needs of the few. And it's a painful choice, but that's what leadership does. They make those hard calls, those hard decisions. They don't say ambiguous things or anything vague or just give up on what they're saying because either the prompter isn't working or they just don't feel like it because it's not fun. No. Making those hard decisions at critical times and sometimes beforehand, and also finding every way possible to not have to make that call, but that call might have to be made. That is important. That's important. Hey, if you got anything against what I had to say, you got any concerns or anything, if anything's turned you off or riled you up, let me know in the comment section. I might have to do a follow-up video. I might have to correct something I said because I'm strong enough and accountable enough to do it. This has been Cedric Kennedy for Comparative Reasoning. Thank you for listening.